All right, everyone who's been with us for 3 days, or this might be the first time that you've shown up to see our closing keynote. We are so excited. Dr. Hild and I had the pleasure of meeting Patrick, probably about 4 or 5 weeks ago. Patrick and R.L. Stein were on our podcast, and it turned out amazing. We had so much fun with them. And he and his team that are here today, they are doing some great things. I'm 42. They're going to talk about a podcast that they've made, and I've listened to pretty much all of them, and I love them. So they're not just for children, adults can love them too, right? So I'm going to go ahead and introduce each one of these people because they are just fantastic, and we are so lucky, honestly, and honored to have them here. So thanks to all of you for being here. All right.
I love being here. It means I don't have to work.
Exactly. Or you have to do work after you leave. Okay. Patrick Carman is our first speaker. He had his first book published by Scholastic in 2007 and went on to become a New York Times bestseller. Over the next decade, he wrote dozens of books for Scholastic, Random House, Little Brown, and HarperCollins. He currently has over 4 million books in print across 23 countries. Through his company, PC Studio, Patrick has created a variety of groundbreaking new ways for kids to read books, which he's going to talk about one of them today. It's not really reading, but it's listening. The company has developed software platforms for some of the biggest brands in publishing. And honestly, when I got to know him a few weeks ago, he is so fun. He's so cool. And I just feel so honored to have him here. So Patrick, thank you so much for being here.
Well, you can introduce me anytime. That was outstanding.
Thank you. Well, it's all true because I know all three of you are so busy, and we're just lucky that you are here to talk to us about this. And
that was better than my mom would have done.
Yeah, that was great. Wow.
Well, Jennifer Clary is our next entrepreneur. She's a producer and a director with a mission to share innovative services and impactful stories. She also founded Jin Kev Productions in 2004, which is a media services for corporations such as GE Healthcare, Dow AgroSciences, Mazda, Toyota. She has done so many things that are so cool. All of their bios are on the website, so you can go there. She is a Vassar graduate and has 2 amazing children, Lyric and Jack, along with a herd of rescue animals. And she has just done so many cool things as an entrepreneur. So Jennifer, thank you so much for being here.
Happy to be here.
Maya,
I think we should tell the listening audience that Jack just threw up on you recently.
Oh. Yeah, I was saying I actually don't have any pants on. My son just puked on me. So this is very, very casual tonight, but I'm thrilled to be here. And I think that what we're doing is really important for kids like my son, even if they're gross.
I 100% agree with you. And that's mom life, right? If you haven't been thrown up on, then you're not really a mom, right?
Exactly. I'm just living my truth over here.
Maia Glickman is our final one on the panel today, and she is a Los Angeles-based producer whose body of work spans numerous areas of entertainment industry. She has held key positions from development to production at network studios and some of the world's leading production companies. She has developed both major television and feature products, in addition to major properties in the podcast and unscripted space. Maia founded a podcast company focusing on interactive, immersive narrative content for children, which is Go Kids Go, that officially launched in May 2021. It features a lot of different people. Like I was just saying, that's what they're here to talk to us about today. And I'm going to stop there because I'm going to let them just speak because you all are going to be captivated. So thanks to all three of you. Honestly, thank you so much. And I'm going to let you have
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having us. I'll kick us off and just tell you guys a little bit more about what Go Kid Go is and then how the company came to be. And then we'll dive into more of the fun stuff and have Pat lead us with the creative conversation. So Go Kid Go is a podcast network for children that, we've created a first of its kind Avengers-like universe of repeating characters and storylines. We're lucky enough to have worked with some really well-known talent like Ariel Winter, Danny Pudi, and Richard Kind, to name a few. We drop daily show episodes from acclaimed children's book author R.L. Stein, most notably known for Goosebumps and Fear Street. and New York Times bestselling children's author Patrick Carman. We feel like we've created a world for kids that's engaging, creative, and just entertaining for the whole family. So how this company came to be is, I think those of you who are entrepreneurial kind of know that companies are sort of born because the founders kind of see a problem and aim to solve that problem. And we think Go Kid Go really kind of fits that mold. Pat, Jen, and I, we really noticed a clear problem that became that much more apparent during the past few years in quarantine, where kids were really glued to screens. Even prior to the pandemic, truly, children's average daily screen time was twice the recommended limit by the American Academy of Pediatrics. Since COVID, screen time has spiked 4 times the daily recommended limit, which is just bonkers to us. Really, to put that into perspective, kids in the 6 to 12 demographic are spending, on the shorter side, 6 to 8 hours of in front of screens each day now. And we kind of see this as a public health crisis. I have a background in entertainment. Jen has a background in building family-friendly companies that do well by doing good. And Pat's a New York Times bestselling children's author and just amazing creative generator. So we all really kind of put our minds together, honestly, over Zoom, because we're all in different states and have not actually met in person, which is
we'll never meet. The magical die if we ever meet.
Yeah, it's just kind of hilarious, but it bonds you that much deeper, in my opinion. So we decided that narrative podcasts for children would honestly be a game changer, not only for families, but in a co-listening experience, kids and parents alike, during what has undeniably been a challenging time. We really think this is an entertaining resource to help combat these issues. So I'm going to kick it off to Pat to tell us more about the specifics of our shows.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody for showing up late on a Thursday. I don't know what time it is where you are, but it's 2:00 where I am, and it's smoky outside in the Pacific Northwest. But that's why we're staying inside. If there's anything that you want me to talk about or cover, I've got the chat right up here. If there's something, a specific question or a topic or category that you want to cover, just drop it in there, and I'll jump into that. No problem. Stop me anytime. Well, normally what I do is I go out and see kids at schools. And so I've seen about 1 million kids live in gymnasiums all across the country. It's the perfect place to be famous, just in a gymnasium with 4th graders. It's great. No one else knows who you are. But you learn a lot by doing that. So when you're in a gymnasium and you've got 300 or 400 little kids hanging out with you, you can learn a lot about what is keeping them from turning pages, what kind of gets them interested, even kind of things you can see all kinds of patterns about what they're into, what they're wearing. I just learned so much by being on the road, and I really miss that. That is probably the favorite thing that I do as a writer, is going out and talking to kids, and it makes a really big difference. So for some kids, just meeting a writer is enough to get them turning pages. So they meet a writer and then they want to read that book. I hear that all the time from librarians. And as I started doing projects that were more designed to reach kids who are not reading enough, which is a lot of the kids in schools right now, I started to get librarians just even telling me at the end of a presentation, hey, will you swing by the library? We've got the kids that are not reading at grade level and they want to sit down and talk with you, and I'll sit down and talk to those kids. Well, we can't do that right now. And the longer this goes on, the more I wonder if I'll ever be able to do that again, put a bunch of kids shoulder to shoulder in a gym with somebody coming from outside the building. I don't know when that's going to be, but hopefully it'll be sometime soon. So that is a big reason why we decided to do this. And like Maia said, I mean, seeing a problem is one of the primary ways that these sort of operations get started. And I can't believe we actually did this, to be honest. When did we have this conversation? 6 months, 9? I don't know when it was, but somehow we all had the same feeling that kids were spending just so much time, a lot of them alone at home, staring at a screen, and it's very income dependent. So the lower you are on the income scale, the harder this problem is, because the simplest thing to do, and this is not against any parent anywhere, it's not about that, but the simplest thing to do is to just give them an iPad. And once you do that in today's world, let's count all the ways that keeps young people from reading. It's everything's on the screen. I mean, now we've got TikTok, we've got Snapchat, we've got Minecraft for younger kids, we've got Roblox for younger kids, Fortnite. I mean, all these things, they are so distracting and so difficult to get away from, and they really make it hard for kids to be able to focus one things and like light up their imaginations. The thing that's really interesting about screens is it has this sort of, I would almost call it like a magical ability to turn off your imagination. When you're watching TV later on tonight, just you'll notice it even in yourself. It's like your imagination just vanishes because everything's being fed to you. And so figuring out ways to get kids back to books is a big challenge right now. What people, tend to miss is, yeah, we might be coming out of this pandemic that we're in pretty soon here. But regardless, kids' brains are very elastic and they've picked up this habit, this 4x the amount of time they should be spending on screens. They pick that habit up, and it's not going to just suddenly, they're going to stop doing that because they're going back to school. So this is now a pattern that we've got to really work hard to try and break. So my journey to podcasting began with other things, because this was probably 10, 12 years ago. As I was going out and seeing schools, I was already starting to see a lot of kids with phones and starting to see a real drift from them actually just loving the idea of reading. And so I started coming up with projects that were designed as a bridge back to books. And it's funny because when we first started doing these, I did these with Scott. So this is one, it's called 39 Clues. Some of you may have seen this before. This has about 60 million copies in print across the series. That was the first big one. And the idea there was with the core group of people, that the first writers was Rick Riordan and a few other people and an editor's class. We sat down and we're like, we got to figure out some way to bring kids back around. And so this is kind of like, you read this book, but there's also a big clue hunting adventure online that kids get to participate in. And there's playing cards that are hidden in the inside jacket of the book. So they buy the book, they open that up, they peel the cards out, and then they go online and they start searching for stuff. And what that did, it was kind of the first gateway into, this is a book that you can read, but there's also this other little carrot over here that if you read this book, you're also going to be able to do some other fun things that you tend to like to do. That led to Skeleton Creek, which is this one. This book is one that kids read and watch. And so this is a project where you'll read one character's perspective, and then it comes to a page in the book, and there's a password and a website. You go to the website, you put the password in, and you watch part of the story. And it goes back and forth like that all the way through the whole book. This has become one of the most popular series for middle school librarians and teachers to use to get kids back into books, because it gives them a chance to take a little break, watch something, and then come back to the reading. So that's been really fun. And so you can see that there's a progression here. And so now I think with podcasting, the funny thing is you think, well, it's not really related to books, but it so is. I mean, really, if you do the research, the one area that's growing by far the fastest in publishing in general is audio. In fact, there are many of my contemporary authors who are now having the conversation with their editors about, should we even print a book? Maybe we should just go straight to audio. That's becoming an actual conversation because audio is becoming so prevalent. And so with kids, it is a great way to get them thinking about the idea of reading. Kids who listen to podcasts are much more likely to actually want to read books. So there is a connection there. But podcasts also, or audio in general, in our case, it's podcasts. Audio has another function, a couple of things that books actually don't have. One of those things, which is really important, is context. And so kids who listen to one of our stories, they're going to get context in a way that they wouldn't get if they were reading, right? Because they can hear the voices, and it's a very personal experience listening. I'm sure all of you have listened to at least one podcast. It's in your head, it's very personal, and you can really get a sense of, how are these people acting? And all of our shows are narrative shows, they're story-driven shows. So kids can get a sense of how they might act in the real world, or they might see situations that they've seen themselves. And then the other thing about it is, as I said earlier, the problem with screens is income dependent. The lower you are in the income scale, the more problem you probably have with screens. And the great thing about podcasts is that they're free. And they're sort of like the public library. I love public libraries because they level the playing field. And in the same way, every kid has access to these shows, to any podcast that they want to listen to. And I think that's really cool. So when I was building this slate of shows, I really felt strongly, based on everything that I had learned out in schools, that the setting really matters. There has to be characters that like a lot of different kids, different types of kids can relate to. And ideally, it is really like an Avengers style universe. That was whoever came up with that idea, Stan Lee or whoever it was, a connected universe of characters and shows and comic books, whatever you want to call it. That's a very, very good idea. And the reason for that is because it builds in all this familiarity. You can tell totally different stories, but there's a familiarity with the setting that kids come to love. And then they can sort of drift around from show to show. So I'll show you really quick here. I'm just going to jump off and share my screen. See if I can do this right. I think it's this one. Hopefully you guys can see our website there. I bet you can. And so we have a world that we've built where many different shows are in the same world. And so what happens is a kid will be listening to one of our shows, and in that show, they might meet a character that they really relate to and really like. And that character actually has spun off into their own show, and that happens over and over again. So this is the kind of the world map, but all these different characters have their own shows. So it allows kids to kind of cross-pollinate between shows, find the ones that they really love, and feel like they're really comfortable in the universe. And we're going to just keep on adding more shows to this universe for different types of kids. So really quick, I'll just run through this so you know what these are in case you have kids that you think might enjoy this type of thing. I was talking to someone this morning about a different project, and they said, I have a 5-year-old son who really likes superheroes. I said, well, they're going to want the Bobby Wonder show. So Bobby Wonder is a show about a kid who's an alien. He doesn't know he's an alien. And the show begins on his 10th birthday, and that's when his alien powers kick in. And his parents tell him, oh, by the way, we're not really from around here. And he finally learns that this is true. And his job is to protect this world of Pflugerville from another character named Mighty Mila, who we may spin off into her own show at some point because she's become quite popular. So that's a great one if you have a kid who's like into superhero type stuff. It's also very funny and fun. All of our shows, besides Story Train, are designed like it's a little bit like listening to Nickelodeon. That's how I like to describe our shows, because at the end of the day, we are not trying necessarily to teach kids science or math or reading or any of those types of things. The big win for us and really for kids is just getting them to listen at all. So we want to really make sure they're just having a good time, because if they're listening, that's helping their vocabulary. It's helping their like being able to understand information, helping them understand context. It's a lot of the same things that they get out of reading. So just getting them reading or getting them listening is our primary goal. Floozeville, that second one there, that's purple, that actually is underneath the world of Pflugerville, the main island there that I showed you. Down underneath there is this world. And this is the most SpongeBob type show that we have. It's just a zany show about two characters. This over here, this little guy, the little brown guy is Waffle and Martha, who kids go off on adventures with and just have these zany, fun adventures that are just really great entertainment for kids. Lucy Wow is a builder and a maker. So this is a great STEM show if you have a daughter or if you have a son that likes this sort of like anything with science, technology, engineering, math. She's a builder. She has a big red barn where she makes all kinds of stuff. This little character up in the corner, that's Kapow. That is a mechanical pygmy goat that she built, and that's her sidekick. And so all kinds of cool inventions and a really fun place for kids to learn a little bit about science, and also just be encouraged that being a kid and being into that kind of stuff is really cool. We obviously, we talked about this earlier, the R.L. Stein show. So that's Bob Stein. That's a person that I've known for many years, and Bob has been gracious enough to let us make a show out of his books. He has 400 million books in print. So a lot of people don't realize how popular he is. He's the third most famous writer, living writer on the planet right now. So a lot of books with Bob. And so if you go into a school library anywhere in the United States, you'll see probably between 40 and 100 Goosebumps books. They're just extraordinarily popular. So we're doing a podcast with him. That's really good if you have somebody who's maybe a little bit older. These are not scary stories. These are more like strange stories. It's kind of like the Twilight Zone for kids. And there are a bunch of those. That's a great thing if they're maybe 5th grade, 6th grade, maybe even 7th grade. And then Story Train is great if you have young kids or you're an adult who likes to listen to a story while you're about to go to sleep. I really like these. These are like the kind, they're like 10 minutes of like a really charming little story that's designed to sort of make you a little bit sleepy. You might not make it to the end, but you can always pick it up the next time. And then we have some other shows that are in our subscription model, but that's the primary universe of our shows. And one of the things I wanted to cover too is that we think it's really, really important that these shows have really good voice talent. I don't know if anyone has ever listened to a narrative show, like a full cast audio that doesn't have good acting, but it really takes you out of the experience. And so all the people you see here, most of them are actors that you've seen on TV. The ones that you haven't are all people who are doing shows on places like Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network, and they really know how to make this kind of stuff come to life. And it makes it pretty easy on me. I can write the telephone book and these people can make it sound pretty good. So so what else? Oh, and there are study guides, there are activity guides. If you're someone who you're really into this sort of idea of being able to listen to something and then also go in and do a little study on it with your kids or in a classroom. We have study guides, we have coloring pages, we have all kinds of stuff that you can get that's all free. We believe that these are really good co-listening shows also. I'm sure we've all had the experience of watching Barney, or what did I used to watch with my kids? I used to watch the Teletubbies. Oh boy, that was rough half hour. And there's probably some show I don't know about that's the rough show right now that you have to sit and endure. These are really designed to be entertaining for adults also. That, we're not talking down to kids at all. They're going to miss a few things, but these are more in the Pixar range in terms of like, there's going to be some stuff you'll find funny that they may not quite get. So we think they're fun for adults also. Okay, I'm going to pass it off here. I'm going to stop this share. And again, any questions at all, put them in the chat. I'd be more than happy to hang back and answer them. We're going to switch over to Jen for now.
Hi, everyone. Pat's a tough act to follow, but I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to dive a little bit more into our mission and why it's important and why we think that the resources that we provide as a company are materially significant. So there is a strong correlation at this point that's been drawn through a number of studies about children who listen to podcasts, specifically narrative podcasts, correlating to be more adept at reading. So children who listen to podcasts actually report higher enjoyment of reading. It's 47.8% compared to 40.8%, and read daily, 30% compared to 27%. That's really significant. And it painted a significant picture for us as founders, because we, by proxy, feel that the more children we can get listening to Go Kid Go shows, stimulating their imaginations and proving out that brain development, more readers are being developed. And as Pat said, it's very habit forming, all of the screen time. And so being one of the tools in the toolkit to help break down that habitual being fed data, fed pictures, fed visuals, rather than stimulating that brain development and imagination, we're really proud to be a part of that. And I think if you take a beat and really think about why literacy matters, that's also crucial to the conversation around Go Kid Go and why we exist. So right now, just to make you aware of sort of the current situation in the US, if you aren't already, 20% of Americans read below the level needed to earn a living wage. That's pretty scary. And 50% of American adults can't read a book written at an 8th grade level. So that in general, it sort of sounds like scaremongering, one of these stats that you might read and you think, ooh, that doesn't sound great, but it doesn't impact me, it doesn't impact my family. Well, let's actually look at this from a community standpoint, right? Like, what is the economic impact of low literacy on the United States? So the decreasing trend in reading proficiency over the past few years, it's cyclical and it's of universal concern. Children who are not reading at a proficient level by the 4th grade are 4 times more likely to drop out of high school. That is really terrifying, right? Because from a national standpoint, on an economic level only, we're going to delve into the social in a minute, that costs our country more than $240 billion in lost earnings, lost tax revenues, and expenses in social services annually, right? So if you just take all emotion out of it and you just look at the problem objectively, this is a crucial national issue, right? Like, it's not just about, one family or 2 families. It matters no matter where you're looking at the problem from. And then the social impact of low literacy is even sadder, really, I think, and more tragic, because dropping out of high school increases the level of poverty. It causes strain within families, and it actually threatens the fabric of our community. I think one of the most sobering statistics is that 3 out of 5 people in American prisons cannot read. And in fact, some states look at how well elementary schools in their area are performing to determine the future number of prison beds that will be required. This is deeply sad. One of the things that I had the honor of doing in my last company, which focused on infants, so it was quite a different demographic, was that I actually got to go into prisons in California and engage with, inmates who had committed, major crimes for the most part. And that's one of the things that they discuss, is that the lack of access to books, the lack of being exposed to books, literacy, really held them back, prevented them from maybe getting, gainful employment, decreased their self-esteem, and just in general created this dichotomy within society between the haves and the have-nots. So Go Kid Go really aims to be proactive in our approach, right? Like, I think instead of planning for future prison beds, it makes a lot more sense to get in early with creative ideas and reach kids sooner with literacy tools that make sense. So maybe not all kids are eager to pick up a book out the gate, but as Pat was saying, and as he's demonstrated through his previous projects, sometimes a creative approach can yield much better benefits. And I think audio has been an untapped resource. I mean, when you look at the number of children on the autistic spectrum who may be able to read but lack the ability to comprehend, something in a different format that tries to stimulate more kids' brains being universally accessible can make all the difference for us as a society between success when it comes to literacy and failure. And Go Kid Go is really proud to take that proactive stance and put children first. So that's where we stand as a company, and that's why we do what we do. So I'll turn it back over to our CEO, Maia, to close it out, and then we're happy to take questions, as Pat said.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I think we're all just incredibly proud of what we've accomplished. And I looked back in our records, Pat, it was December that we all decided to go full steam ahead for this company. And I'm so proud that within 6 months we launched and, have adjusted according to the feedback we've gotten, and always leading with quality first. And I think that's what makes us stand apart is, even if it seems like a silly idea, we really go at it in a way that it feels elevated from just the quality of our team and infrastructure that we put together of Emmy Award winning, composers and audio engineers, and, first in class with writing and talent. And we just believe kids deserve more than they have right now. And we feel like this could be a really big game changer as they discover that we exist. That there's this resource that not only is leading with entertainment, but is acknowledging what kids are hungry for. And I think Pat's very, very much a genius in terms of tapping into the brain and mindset of the age range that we're aiming for, with acknowledging the parents and wanting them to come on that ride with us. So just really thank you guys for hearing us out and checking out our website and becoming fans of the Go Kid Go world. And, please rate, review, give us, hopefully 5 stars, let us know what you love so we can continue to deliver and acknowledge what people are hungry for. So that's all I have to say.
And there are just mostly just comments coming in about some of these resources maybe being useful for some of you. I'll give you just a little more so you know what you're getting yourselves into based on how old your kids are, or maybe kids that you know. I think Go Kid Go, these shows that I showed you really are good for just about any age. I think we have kids that are down as low as like 2 years old that listen to these shows, because they'll catch some of it and they won't catch all of it. But it's a much better way to have a very young child be entertained if you're busy doing something else than it is to put them in front of a screen. I mean, the nice thing about audio is they can also sit in color, or they can sit and do a craft or play with their animals or whatever while they're listening. And what we find also with audio is that it's very much repeat listening that happens. So we have, of course, all the statistics on our shows, and we have lots and lots of kids, probably over half of our entire audience, who re-listen to episodes multiple times. And so you see this a lot you would think this would make sense when you're thinking of like a, like a TV show. Kids would rewatch that. But it is also very common for them to do that with audio. So if you find a show that your kids like, they'll probably just re-listen to them over and over again, because again, it activates their imagination and they're having a good time. So that can go really young, and it can also go probably pretty old for kids who are, I think one of the most important things that Jennifer said was that if we lose kids by the 4th grade, or maybe you didn't mention this part, but it's really tough to get them back after the 4th grade. So yeah. I don't know if that point was exactly made, but when kids are below reading below grade level at the fourth grade, it's very tough to get them back, because it makes sense if you think about it in the world we live in today. I mean, most kids by the time they're, I don't know, maybe fifth grade, sixth grade, have their own smartphone, and then all bets are off. If they haven't caught up by then, it's going to be tough for them to catch up from there.
Yeah.
So those are great for any age. I think Skeleton Creek is that's a scary story. It's written for probably 10 and up. I mean, it's not that. It's very much a PG sort of a scare, but the videos there are ghosts in the videos and stuff like that. No, there's no gore or anything like that, but that is probably not for a kid who would be younger than 10. Those books got banned in Texas for a while because they got really popular in Texas, and too many like 8-year-olds were getting in there watching that. So better for a little bit older kid, like 10, 11, 12. 39 Clues, again, 9 to 12. And yeah, so there you go. I really appreciate anyone hanging around and listening to me talk, to all of us talk. We're hard at work trying to make something we feel really good about, and I know a lot of you are as well. And we just appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us. And if there's anything else we can do, send your questions to Tisha. We'll get them to us, and I'll be happy to answer them.
Yeah. And as summer's coming, I just want to wrap up and say, one thing to really consider is how our podcast can just be so enjoyable for the family, like car rides and getting kids to do chores and find a way to enjoy it. Like listen to an episode, do the dishes, so just make the most out of it and as you see fit. But just as Pat said, just really appreciate everyone just checking us out.
Did you all share Go Kid Go in the chat? I just want to make sure that you shared the link.
Oh.
Make sure that you do that because I want them. I was going to do it, but I figured you.
Yeah, I'll share it right now.
Okay, perfect. And I will tell you, again, I've listened to them. I drive a lot. I had my niece in the car. We drove 8 hours. She did not want to stop listening. She's going into 5th grade. She started today. So I can tell you from firsthand that I love them. My niece loved them, who's 11. I haven't tried them out on anyone younger, but they are amazing. Go listen today. You will want to use them in your classroom with your kids at home. Share them. They're really cool.
Thank you, Tisha.
Thank you.
They really are. I love podcasts. So I'm usually true crime. But your podcasts are really, really good. They're amazing.
We need like a 4th grade true crime. We got to work on that.
Mr. Pflugerville.
Somebody stole my pencil.
Yes. So I'm going to let you all take questions. I'm going to stop the recording. So anybody can